A fever isn't the illness, it's the body fighting back. When governments treat protesters as symptoms to suppress, rather than signals to heed, they're not curing society, but sabotaging its immune system. This is what the Home Secretary risks doing by prescribing the group Palestine Action as a terrorist organization and punishing activists who damaged military planes at RAF Brize Norton. Such overreach is a democracy's very own autoimmune disorder, where the state attacks its own defenses, whether one supports their cause or not. Branding civil disobedience as terrorism carries the unmistakable stench of authoritarianism. There's a crucial distinction the state seems unwilling to make. Damaging military equipment to protest complicity is not the same as targeting civilians to spread fear. Property damage, however costly or disruptive, lacks the intent to terrorize populations that defines actual terrorism. By conflating these fundamentally different acts, the government not only dilutes the meaning of terrorism, but also sets a dangerous precedent for criminalizing dissent. This authoritarian reflex isn't new. It's a pattern we've seen before. The suffragettes, too, were vilified for their militancy. They fought for women's voting rights through civil disobedience, protests, hunger strikes, and even acts of vandalism and arson. Faced with hunger-striking suffragettes, the British government passed the Prisoners Act, better known as the Cat and Mouse Act. This cruel legislation allowed authorities to release weakened prisoners on the brink of death, only to rearrest them once they recovered. Their legacy proves one thing: direct action works. This cycle of suppression is alarming, yet predictable. We've seen the same tactics deployed against journalists under the Terrorism Act 2006 for exposing inconvenient truths. Protest, along with journalism, are the twin pillars of democracy, yet the state seems determined to erode both. When dissent is criminalized and truth suppressed, the very foundations of a free society are under attack. If dissent becomes terrorism, what's left of democracy? The suffragettes proved that militancy works, but the state took the wrong lesson. Instead of recognizing dissent as a corrective force, it doubled down on repression. This pattern repeated decades later when this playbook of power was applied again in Northern Ireland. The consequences were catastrophic. In Northern Ireland, that reflex turned marches into massacres, activists into insurgents. In the 1960s, Northern Ireland's Catholic minority faced systemic discrimination in voting rights, housing, and employment under the Protestant-dominated Unionist government. Inspired by the U.S. Civil Rights Movement, non-violent protesters took to the streets demanding equality, but they were often met with heavy-handed police brutality from the Royal Ulster Constabulary, RUC, a predominantly Protestant force. Tensions exploded in 1969 during a civil rights march in Derry, where violent clashes between Catholics and the RUC led to the British Army being deployed to restore order. Instead of peace, troops imposed harsh curfews on Catholic neighborhoods in Belfast, conducted aggressive house raids, and, most infamously, implemented internment without trial in 1971, arresting and imprisoning hundreds of mostly innocent Catholic men. The repression reached its climax on Bloody Sunday in 1972, when British soldiers gunned down 13 unarmed protesters in Derry. The massacre shattered faith in peaceful protest, convincing many that only armed resistance could defend their communities. In the wake of these crackdowns, recruitment for the IRA surged. Young men, radicalized by state violence and injustice, joined the group out of anger and desperation. Rather than suppressing dissent, the British government's repression destroyed faith in finding a peaceful resolution, instead pushing many to see the IRA as a legitimate resistance movement. Instead of ending the conflict, the crackdowns strengthened the IRA's cause, transforming a civil rights struggle into a decades-long guerrilla war known as the Troubles. As Orwell once said, "If liberty means anything at all, it means the right to tell people what they do not want to hear." When dissent is criminalized, it doesn't disappear, it mutates. The suffragettes' smashed windows became the IRA's bombs. By banning Palestine Action, the state isn't preventing violence, it risks pushing it to darker corners.